The message came in the dead of night, when most of Lunar Base Armstrong was powered down. Only the skeleton crew remained at their stations, monitoring the vast emptiness of space. Among them was Dr. Olivia Grant, whose tired eyes stared at screens filled with signal patterns. Another quiet night, she mumbled to herself, sipping lukewarm coffee. Then it happened. A soft beeping from her console broke the silence. Olivia set down her cup and leaned forward. The signal was faint but distinct, structured in a way that couldn't be natural. "Computer, analyze incoming transmission from Sector 47 Alpha," she commanded, suddenly wide awake. The machine worked silently for 30 seconds before displaying its conclusion. "Signal contains non-random patterns consistent with artificial communication." Olivia's heart raced. After years of scanning the stars for signs of intelligent life, they had found something. No, something had found them. "Alert Director Peterson and initiate first contact protocols," she ordered, fingers flying across her keyboard to capture and enhance the signal. Within an hour, the control room filled with bleary-eyed scientists and military personnel. Director Peterson, a stern man with gray hair, stood behind Olivia as she worked. "What do we have, Dr. Grant?" he asked. "It's definitely artificial, sir. The pattern repeats with variations that suggest language." She pointed to specific peaks in the waveform. "And here, these segments contain mathematical constants. They want to be understood." The room fell silent as Olivia fed the signal into the translation matrix she had developed over the past decade. Minutes stretched into hours as the computer analyzed the alien communication. Finally, words appeared on her screen. "I have a partial translation," she announced. It's a distress call." She read aloud. "To any who hear, danger, extinction, help us. The devourers come. Coordinates follow." Captain John Miller, the military liaison to the lunar base, stepped forward. "Could be a trap. Or it could be exactly what it seems," Olivia countered. "A civilization reaching out because they're dying." The debate raged for days. United Earth Command convened emergency sessions. Politicians argued about risks and responsibilities. Scientists pleaded for action. Military leaders counseled caution. Meanwhile, Olivia continued refining the translation. The picture grew clearer and more desperate. "They call themselves the Kilari," she reported to the assembled leaders. "Their home system is under attack by something they call the Devourers. They've sent this message to multiple star systems, hoping anyone might help. And they included their coordinates," asked General Rivera. "Yes, sir. Along with technical specifications to reach them." The general nodded grimly. "Then they've also given these coordinates to their enemy." After a week of deliberation, United Earth Command made its decision. Humanity would respond. Captain John Miller received his orders directly from the Secretary General. He would command Earth's most advanced vessel, the UES Vanguard, on a mission to the coordinates provided by the Kilari. "This is not just a rescue mission," the Secretary General told him privately. "This is humanity's debut on the galactic stage. What we do here will define us to the stars." Miller nodded, his face solemn. "We won't let Earth down, sir." As the Vanguard prepared for departure, Olivia was assigned as the mission's communications specialist. The night before launch, she stood on the observation deck, looking at the stars. "We're coming," she whispered to the distant beings who had reached out in desperation. "Hold on just a little longer." She couldn't know that the Kilari were already regretting their call for help, or that they feared their saviors more than their destroyers. The UES Vanguard hung in Earth's orbit like a silver needle against the black. Its sleek design concealed the most advanced weapon systems humanity had ever developed, systems the public knew nothing about. Captain John Miller walked the corridors of his ship, nodding to crew members as they made final preparations. The Vanguard was officially an exploration vessel. Unofficially, it was a warship without equal. "Captain on deck," announced Commander Lisa Hayes as Miller entered the bridge. "At ease," he said, settling into his command chair. Status report. Commander Hayes, his tactical officer and second-in-command, stepped forward. She was tall with short blonde hair and eyes that missed nothing. All systems green, sir. Dr. Clark has finished setting up the xenobiology lab. Lieutenant Barnes has plotted our hyperspace route, and Security Chief Wade has completed weapons drills. Miller nodded approvingly. And Dr. Grant? Still working on refining translations of the Kilari message. Before Miller could respond, his private communication panel lit up. Captain, secure transmission from Earth Command. Miller retreated to his ready room, where the stern face of General Rivera appeared on his screen. Captain, what I'm about to tell you is classified beyond your current clearance. I'm authorizing this information only because of your mission parameters. Miller leaned forward. Sir, the Vanguard isn't just our newest ship. It's our most deadly. The General's expression hardened. For 50 years, we've maintained the appearance of being a relatively minor spacefaring race. The reality is quite different. Files began streaming to Miller's console. Weapons specifications, engine capabilities, defensive systems, all far beyond what he believed possible. We've hidden our true capabilities from the few alien races we've encountered, Rivera continued. The Vanguard represents our contingency plan if those encounters had gone poorly. Miller studied the technical specifications in disbelief. Sir, these weapon yields, they're planet killers. Let's hope you won't need them. But if these devourers are as dangerous as the Kilari claim, Rivera let the implication hang in the air. After the call ended, Miller called his senior officers to the ship's secure briefing room. Dr. Nathan Clark, a lanky man with a perpetual look of curiosity, was the first to speak after Miller's explanation. So we've been lying to every non-human species we've met. Not lying, corrected Lieutenant Eric Barnes, the ship's pilot. Just not showing all our cards. Security Chief Allison Wade nodded in agreement. Standard military doctrine. You never reveal your full capabilities until necessary. Dr. Olivia Grant looked troubled. The Kilari are reaching out because they trust potential allies to help them. We're responding with a warship they couldn't imagine. A warship that might save their lives, Commander Hayes pointed out. Miller held up his hand for silence. Our mission remains the same. Respond to the distress call and render assistance. But now we have options if things go sideways. Training intensified over the following days as the Vanguard traveled through hyperspace. The crew simulated first contact scenarios, combat drills, and evacuation procedures. Dr. Clark and Dr. Grant worked tirelessly on understanding Kilari biology and language from the limited data available. On the 5th day, Miller found Olivia alone in the observation lounge, staring at the hyperspace distortion outside. Trouble sleeping, Doctor? He asked. I've been thinking about the signal. She turned to face him. There was something in their tone. Not just fear of the devourers, but something else. What do you mean? It felt like they were sending this message as a last resort, like they were afraid of who might answer. Miller considered this. Well, they're about to meet us. Let's hope we're not what they feared. The Vanguard continued its journey, hurtling toward a destiny none of them could predict. The Vanguard emerged from hyperspace with a flash of blue light. Alarms immediately blared across the bridge. Multiple ships detected. Lieutenant Barnes called out, "Weapons fire everywhere." Captain Miller rose from his chair. On screen, the main display activated, revealing a scene of devastation. Dozens of crystalline ships, beautiful structures that looked more like art than vessels, were desperately trying to escape a pursuing force of dark, asymmetrical craft that seemed to pulse with an inner red glow. Tactical analysis, Miller ordered. Commander Hayes studied her console. The crystalline ships appear to be in a defensive retreat formation. The others are, sir, they're not just attacking. They're consuming the damaged vessels. The bridge crew watched in horror as one of the crystal ships, its propulsion damage, was surrounded by 3 of the dark vessels. Mechanical tendrils extended from the pursuers, latching onto the disabled craft. Within minutes, the crystal ship was gone, absorbed into the larger mass of its attackers. "Those must be the Devourers," Dr. Grant whispered. "Are we in scanner range of either species?" Miller asked. "Yes, Captain," replied Hayes. "Both fleets have detected our arrival. The crystalline ships, presumably the Kilari, are changing course toward us." Miller nodded. "Open a channel to the Kilari fleet." Dr. Grant worked her console. "Channel open, sir. I'm transmitting our first contact package along with the response to their distress call." For tense moments, there was no reply. Then the screen changed to show an alien being. It was vaguely humanoid but seemed made of living crystal. Light played through its transparent body, and its features were angular but harmonious. When it spoke, its voice chimed like glass bells. "This is Fleet Commander Zirith of the Kilari Confederation. Identify yourselves." Miller stepped forward. "I am Captain John Miller of the United Earth Ship Vanguard. We received your distress call and have come to render assistance." The Kilari commander's body flickered with internal light. "A sign of emotion," Miller guessed. "Humans," Zirith said, the word almost a whisper. "You actually came." "We received your call for help," Miller replied. "Yes, but—" Zirith seemed to struggle with his response. "We did not expect humans to answer. We sent the signal to many systems." Before Miller could ask what that meant, the tactical console beeped urgently. "Captain, 3 Devourer vessels have broken off from the main group and are heading toward us," Hayes reported. "Commander Zirith, we need to coordinate our defense," Miller said firmly. The Kilari's crystalline form pulsed with rapid flickers of light. "Very well. We accept your assistance, human. Though many of my people will question this decision." "Question it after we've dealt with your attackers," Miller replied. "Vanguard out." As the communication ended, Miller turned to his bridge crew. "Battle stations. Bring weapons online but hold fire until my command." The Vanguard's external appearance began to change as hidden weapon ports opened along its hull. The ship's reactor core hummed as it channeled power to systems that had never been used in actual combat. Through the view screen, Miller could see the Kilari ships watching the Vanguard. Even in their desperate situation, they kept a noticeable distance from the human vessel. "They're afraid of us," Dr. Grant said quietly. "Not just cautious, actually afraid." Miller had no time to consider this as the first wave of Devourer ships closed in. They were grotesque up close, a fusion of technology and organic matter that pulsed and shifted like something alive and hungry. "Target lead vessel," Miller ordered. "Let's show the Kilari they were right to call for help." The Vanguard's main cannon powered up, glowing with blue energy. Whatever fears the Kilari harbored about humans, they were about to witness firsthand why those fears might be justified. "Weapons locked on target," Commander Hayes reported, her voice steady despite the tension on the bridge. Captain Miller studied the approaching Devourer vessels. They moved with an unsettling grace, like predators confident in their superiority. "Fire." The Vanguard's main cannon discharged a blinding beam of focused energy. It cut through space and struck the lead Devourer ship. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the enemy vessel simply came apart, its structure disintegrating under the force of the human weapon. "Direct hit," Hayes confirmed. "Target destroyed." On the tactical display, Miller noticed the Kilari ships had stopped their retreat. They were watching. "The other Devourer vessels are adjusting course," Lieutenant Barnes announced. "They're surrounding us." Miller nodded. "Let them come. Deploy secondary batteries." Along the Vanguard's hull, smaller weapon ports activated. Unlike the main cannon, these fired in rapid bursts, targeting the approaching Devourers with surgical precision. "Sir," Dr. Grant called out, "I'm picking up transmissions between the Devourer ships. They seem confused." "They didn't expect us to be so effective," Miller replied. "Good. Commander Hayes, continue firing pattern Alpha." The Vanguard moved with deadly efficiency, its weapons tearing through the Devourer ships that had seemed so terrifying to the Kilari. With each successful hit, the human crew grew more confident. But the Devourers adapted quickly. The remaining ships began to move in complex patterns, making them harder to target. Several managed to get close enough to extend their mechanical tendrils toward the vanguard. Defensive shields holding at 89%, Hayes reported as the first tendrils made contact. "They're probing our hull composition." Miller leaned forward. "Security Chief Wade, prepare boarding countermeasures. Dr. Clark, analyze those tendrils. I want to know what they're trying to do." Dr. Clark studied his console, face growing pale. "Captain, they're not just probing us. They're sampling our materials, and based on these readings, they're trying to assimilate our technology." "Not on my ship," Miller growled. "Initiate electrical hull discharge." The Vanguard's exterior suddenly surged with electrical energy, burning away the attached tendrils. The Devourer ships recoiled, but quickly regrouped. "Captain," Dr. Grant interrupted, "Commander Zirith is hailing us." The Kilari commander appeared on screen, his crystalline form pulsing with rapid lights. "Human vessel, the Devourers have called their main fleet. You must retreat while you can." Miller shook his head. "We didn't come all this way to run at the first sign of trouble, Commander." "You don't understand," Zirith insisted. "Their world ship approaches. It has consumed entire civilizations." As if on cue, a massive shadow appeared at the edge of the battlefield. The Devourer world ship was less a vessel than a mobile ecosystem of technology and organic matter, easily 20 times the size of the Vanguard. The bridge fell silent as the crew took in the scale of this new threat. "Sir," Hayes finally said, "conventional weapons may not be effective against something that size." Miller's face hardened. "Then we'll use unconventional weapons. Prepare the Nova package." Hayes looked up sharply. "Captain, that system has never been field tested." "No time like the present, Commander." As the Vanguard's most classified weapon system came online, Miller reopened the channel to the Kilari. "Commander Zirith, move your remaining ships behind us. Now." The Kilari commander seemed about to object, then noticed something in Miller's expression that made him reconsider. "As you wish, human." The Devourer world ship extended hundreds of tendrils toward the Vanguard, each one large enough to ensnare a smaller vessel. "Nova package armed," Hayes reported, her voice barely above a whisper. "Target their central mass," Miller ordered. "Fire when ready." The Vanguard shuddered as it released a small, seemingly insignificant projectile. It traveled slowly toward the Devourer world ship, which made no effort to avoid the tiny threat. When it detonated, the battlefield was momentarily transformed into a miniature sun. From behind the Vanguard's reinforced shields, the Kilari watched in horror and awe as humans demonstrated why they were feared across the stars. The aftermath of the Nova weapon left an eerie silence across the battlefield. The Devourer world ship had not been destroyed completely, but its central mass was shattered, the remaining fragments drifting apart like a dying organism. "Damage report," Miller ordered, his voice rough from shouting commands during the battle. Commander Hayes scanned her console. Shields at 42%. Minor hull breaches on decks 7 through 9. Emergency containment holding. Weapon systems operating at 63% capacity. And the Kilari fleet. 17 vessels remain intact, Captain, Lieutenant Barnes reported. "They're regrouping near the third moon of that gas giant." Miller nodded. "Set course to join them." "Dr. Grant, open a channel to Commander Zirith." The Kilari commander appeared on screen. His crystalline form looked dulled, with visible fractures running along what might be considered his shoulders. "The enemy retreats," Zirith said without preamble. "You have done what we thought impossible." "We should discuss next steps," Miller replied. "Request permission to send a delegation to your command vessel." A flicker of what might have been hesitation passed through Zirith's crystalline body. "Granted, though I must warn you, my people are uncomfortable with your presence." "Noted. We'll keep our delegation small." Miller assigned Commander Hayes and Dr. Clark to accompany him to the Kilari flagship. As they prepared to board a shuttle, Dr. Grant approached. "Captain, something isn't right," she said quietly. "During the battle, I continued analyzing their communications. The Kilari aren't just afraid of the Devours, they're terrified of us. More than once I heard what translates roughly as the ancient predator when referring to humans." Miller frowned. "Keep digging. I want to know what we're walking into." The shuttle journey to the Kilari flagship was short but tense. As they docked, Miller noticed the airlock was oversized, clearly designed for beings larger than humans. Inside, the Kilari ship was a marvel of crystal architecture. Corridors flowed in organic curves, walls pulsing with soft light that seemed to respond to the emotions of passing Kilari. And everywhere they went, the crystalline aliens backed away, their bodies flickering with what Dr. Clark identified as fear patterns. Commander Zirith met them in a large chamber that served as the ship's command center. Other Kilari officers stood at a noticeable distance. "You have questions," Zirith stated. "As do we." Miller stepped forward. "Why did you call for help if you feared those who might answer?" The Kilari commander's body dimmed slightly. "Because the Devourers left us no choice. We sent signals to many systems, hoping for aid from the lesser races. We did not expect Earth to respond." "You know of Earth?" Hayes asked sharply. "All spacefaring races know of Earth," Zirith replied, his tone suggesting this should be obvious. "It is the quarantine world, the cradle of the ultimate predators." The humans exchanged confused glances. "Explain," Miller demanded. Zirith gestured, and a holographic display activated in the center of the room. It showed a map of the galaxy with Earth clearly marked, surrounded by warning symbols. 20,000 years ago, the precursors, those who came before all current civilizations, left warnings throughout the galaxy. They spoke of a world where evolution had created the perfect hunters, beings of unmatched aggression, cunning, and adaptability. Zirith's body pulsed with light. "Your world, your species. That's absurd," Dr. Clark protested. "We've barely been spacefaring for 2 centuries. The precursors created a quarantine zone around your solar system," Zirith continued. "They hoped to contain you. When your signals first reached beyond your system, the galactic community began monitoring your development with concern." Miller's mind raced. "Are you saying we've been watched, judged, feared?" Zirith corrected. "And after witnessing your weapons against the Devours, I understand why." The revelation hung in the air between them. Humans weren't unknown to the galaxy. They were infamous. The monsters other species told stories about. And now those monsters had arrived to save them. Captain Miller stood in stunned silence, processing Zirith's words. The idea that humanity had been quarantined, feared by the galaxy for millennia, was almost too much to comprehend. "If you feared us so much," he finally asked, "why reveal this truth now?" Zirith's crystalline form shifted, light patterns moving through his body in complex waves. "Because circumstances have changed. The Devourers have forced our hand." "These precursors," Commander Hayes interjected. "Who were they?" Zirith gestured again, and the holographic display changed to show beings of pure energy. They evolved beyond physical form millions of years ago. Before departing to another plane of existence, they established the galactic order and left warnings about potential threats. Dr. Clark stepped forward, scientists' curiosity overcoming his shock, and humans were classified as one of these threats. "Based on what evidence?" "Your evolutionary path," Zirith explained. "Most sentient species evolved as prey animals, developing intelligence as a survival mechanism against predators. Humans evolved as apex predators who became more intelligent to better hunt their prey." Miller crossed his arms. "So we've been judged based on our distant ancestors, not on who we are now." "The evidence suggested caution," Zirith replied. "Your recorded history is filled with warfare and conquest." "And cooperation and sacrifice," Miller countered. "You've been watching us, but not understanding us." The discussion was interrupted as a Kilari officer entered, her crystalline form pulsing with urgent patterns. She spoke rapidly in their chiming language. "What's happening?" Miller demanded. Zirith's light patterns darkened. The Devourer world ship was damaged, not destroyed. It has begun to regenerate and is calling for reinforcements. "Then we need to finish it before they arrive," Miller stated. "I propose a formal alliance between Earth and the Kilari. Our strengths combined." The Kilari officers exchanged flickers of light in what appeared to be a silent debate. Finally, Zirith spoke. "Necessity compels us to accept, despite our reservations." As preparations began for a coordinated attack, Dr. Clark requested access to the Kilari database to better understand their enemy. With Zirith's reluctant approval, he and Hayes began searching through alien records. Hours later, they called an urgent meeting with Miller. "Captain, you need to see this," Hayes said, activating a portable holographic projector. It displayed ancient schematics that looked disturbingly familiar. "These are design specifications for the Devourers," Clark explained. "They're not a natural species. They're a weapon system, created by the same precursors who quarantined Earth." Miller leaned closer. "A weapon for what purpose?" "Originally to eliminate dangerous biological contamination," Hayes continued. "But this data suggests they were reprogrammed specifically as a contingency against human expansion. They're our jailers," Miller realized. "Designed to destroy us if we ever broke quarantine." Clark nodded grimly. "And not just us. These records show the precursors manipulated multiple species to fear humans, creating an entire mythology around us as monsters." Miller's communication device chimed. It was Dr. Grant from the Vanguard. "Captain, Earth Command has received our reports. They're sending reinforcements, a battle group led by the UES Defiant." Miller's expression hardened. "Tell them to hurry. And send all the data we've discovered about the precursor's manipulation." Turning back to Zirith, Miller spoke with new determination. "Your people have been lied to about mine for thousands of years. The Devourers aren't protecting the galaxy from us. They are enforcing an unjust imprisonment based on what we might become, not what we are." Zirith's light patterns swirled in complex emotions. "Even if what you say is true, your weapon's capability remains concerning." "Judge us by our actions," Miller replied. "We came when you called. We fought to protect your people, not conquer them." For the first time, Zirith's crystalline form brightened with what might have been hope. "Perhaps," the alien commander said, "it is time for the galaxy to meet humans as they truly are, not as legend has painted them." Together, they began planning the counteroffensive against the Devourers and the dawn of a new era in galactic relations. The combined fleet gathered at the edge of the Kilari home system. Earth reinforcements had arrived. 3 warships led by the UES Defiant, their hulls gleaming in the light of an alien sun. Alongside them floated the remaining Kilari vessels, their crystal structures repaired but still bearing the scars of previous battles. In the center, the Vanguard held position. From its bridge, Captain Miller surveyed the assembled forces. "Not exactly the armada I'd hoped for," he remarked to Commander Hayes. "Quality over quantity, sir," she replied. "And we have the element of surprise. The Devourers won't expect us to attack their homeworld." Miller nodded. "Patch me through to all ships." The communications officer worked his console. "Channel open, Captain. You're addressing the entire fleet." Miller took a deep breath and began. "To all crew members and our Kilari allies, today we face an enemy created specifically to keep humanity caged. For thousands of years, the galaxy has been taught to fear us. Today we show them not why they should fear humans, but why they should be glad we finally arrived." He paused, letting his words sink in. "The Devourers were programmed to contain us, to prevent our species from joining the galactic community. But their creators didn't understand what truly makes humans dangerous. It's not our weapons or our aggression. It's our refusal to accept imprisonment, our drive to overcome impossible odds, and our willingness to protect others at any cost. Across the fleet, human and Kilari alike listened in silence. We fight not for conquest, but for freedom, not just our own, but freedom for every species threatened by the Devourers. Together, we end this today. As Miller concluded, Commander Zirith's voice came through the channel. My people have feared humans for millennia without ever meeting one. Today, we fight alongside you against a common enemy. Perhaps this is the beginning of understanding. The fleet moved as one, entering hyperspace toward the coordinates of the Devourer homeworld. Intelligence from captured data cores had revealed it to be an artificial planetoid, a massive factory complex producing more of the biological weapons. They emerged from hyperspace to find the Devourer defenses already activated. Hundreds of ships surrounded the planetoid, forming a protective barrier. All ships, battle formation Delta, Miller ordered. Kilari vessels, take flanking positions. Earth ships will punch through the center. The battle began with a thunderous exchange of fire. Human weapons tore through the first line of Devourer ships, while Kilari vessels used their superior maneuverability to disrupt enemy formations. But the Devourers adapted quickly. They began to coordinate their attacks, focusing fire on individual ships. 2 Kilari vessels fell in the first wave. They're learning our tactics, Hayes warned. Then we change tactics, Miller replied. All ships implement randomized attack pattern. Dr. Clark, are you ready? From the science station, Dr. Clark nodded. The virus is prepared, Captain, but we need to get it into their central processing core. Miller made his decision instantly. The Vanguard will deliver it. Commander Hayes, plot a direct course to the planetoid surface. The ship surged forward, absorbing punishing fire as it broke through the defensive line. Engine cores pushed beyond safety limits as Lieutenant Barnes executed a series of maneuvers that no ship that size should have been capable of. Proximity alert. The tactical officer called out. We're within range of their surface defenses. Deploy the payload, Miller ordered. A small probe launched from the Vanguard, carrying Clark's virus, designed to rewrite the Devourer's core programming. As it penetrated the planetoid surface, the entire Devourer fleet seemed to shudder. Their movements became erratic, then stopped entirely. It's working, Dr. Clark confirmed, watching the data stream. The virus is spreading through their network. The bridge crew held their breath as the final lines of code executed. Then, across all communication channels, came a message in the mechanical language of the Devourers, translated by the ship's computer. Quarantine protocol terminated. Human containment directive revoked. Primary programming restored. The Devourer ships began to power down, their threat neutralized. As the Allied fleet regrouped, Miller gazed at the stars now open to humanity. The galaxy feared what we might become, he said quietly. Now they'll see what we truly are.